Stop scrolling for a second and listen carefully, because what I'm about to reveal is something almost nobody ever talks about, and it will completely change the way you see human connection. Most people think they understand relationships. They think love, care, and attention are enough. But what I'm going to tell you today is not about surface-level gestures. It's not about flowers, messages, or compliments. This is about something invisible, something so subtle and powerful that it shapes the very foundation of emotional connection. And most people never notice it until it's too late. By the time you finish watching this video, you're going to understand the one thing a woman does when she is emotionally bonded. Something so profound, so intense, that it silently changes the dynamics of every relationship she's in. And here's the part that will shock you. She doesn't announce it. She doesn't demand recognition, but if you pay attention, you will see it. She mirrors energy. She invests emotionally. She gives loyalty and patience that can either elevate a connection to heights you never imagined, or quietly withdraw if ignored. This is a level of care that few ever recognize, and even fewer know how to reciprocate. And if you think you've ever experienced real emotional bonding before, think again. Because once you see how deep this goes, the invisible ways she shapes, balances, and transforms the connection, you will never look at relationships the same way again. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to recognize it, how to honor it, and how to truly experience a connection that is rare, transformative, and unforgettable. So stay with me, watch every second, and pay attention closely, because the truth about emotional bonding I'm about to reveal is not just eye-opening. It's life-changing. When we talk about emotional bonding, it's not about the things people usually notice. It's not about holding hands, sending texts, or even sharing deep conversations. Those are surface-level signs, things that anyone can mimic. Emotional bonding is far deeper than that. It's invisible, and yet it has the power to shape behavior, influence decisions, and quietly transform the dynamics between two people. And one of the most profound expressions of this bond is something almost nobody sees. A woman mirrors the energy of the man she is bonded to. Now, when I say mirrors the energy, I don't mean she copies his words or imitates his actions. It's subtler than that. It's physiological, psychological, and deeply instinctual. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how, when you are around someone you feel connected to, their mood affects yours? You feel their tension, their excitement, their frustration, even before they speak. That's mirroring. And when a woman is emotionally bonded, this ability amplifies. She doesn't just notice your energy, she internalizes it. She processes it. She adjusts her own behavior to match the rhythm of your emotional state, without even realizing she's doing it. This is why emotional bonding is so powerful, because it's not just about attraction or affection, it's about synchronization. When two people are truly connected, they start to resonate on the same frequency. And she does this instinctively. If you're anxious, she becomes cautious. If you're joyful, she reflects your light. If you're distracted, she senses the distance and moves carefully around it. And here's the thing most people never consider. She does this not as an obligation, not as a conscious effort, but as a manifestation of care and instinct. Her energy is attuned to yours because she has invested emotionally in your world. From a psychological perspective, this is fascinating. It taps into concepts like empathy, emotional contagion, and even mirror neurons. Mirror neurons are the cells in our brain that fire both when we act and when we observe someone else acting. They allow us to feel what others feel, and they are the foundation for empathy. A woman who is emotionally bonded experiences this at an elevated level. She doesn't just empathize, she experiences your state as though it were her own. And because of this, she often becomes a stabilizing force in the relationship. Even if you don't realize it, you might think she's calm, patient, or simply easygoing, but in reality, she is actively regulating her own emotional responses to complement yours. Philosophically, this is an incredible phenomenon because it illustrates how deeply humans are wired for connection. We are social beings, yes, but we are also emotional mirrors for one another. A bond like this is not built in a day. It develops over time through consistent trust, shared vulnerability, and subtle patterns of interaction. Every smile you give, every frustration you express, every quiet moment you share, all of it creates a feedback loop. And she becomes part of that loop. She begins to anticipate your needs, preempt your reactions, and respond in ways that maintain harmony. She is literally shaping her behavior around the contours of your emotional life. But here's the part that shocks most people: this mirroring can go unnoticed for years. Many men, or people in general, assume that a woman's calmness or attentiveness is simply personality. They assume that her reactions are random or general. They fail to realize that every gesture, every subtle adjustment, is a reflection of how deeply she is bonded to them. And because it's invisible, it's also incredibly fragile. Emotional mirroring is not something you can demand. It is given freely, but it can be broken if trust is compromised, if respect is absent, or if the bond is taken for granted. Imagine for a moment the implications of this. She is, without words, telling you that she is invested. She is saying in every small adjustment, "I am here. I understand you. I feel with you." And yet, if that is ignored, the connection starts to erode. What is fascinating, and what people rarely grasp, is that this mirroring is not just about emotional closeness, it is about survival within the relationship. Humans are wired to protect themselves emotionally. When a woman mirrors your energy, she is opening herself up to your world, absorbing it, processing it, and integrating it. She is vulnerable. She is present. And if she feels that this emotional openness is unsafe or unappreciated, she will retract. From a relational perspective, this is a wake-up call. The one thing a woman does when she is emotionally bonded is not something flashy or showy. It's invisible, quiet, and transformative. And yet, it is the single most powerful indicator that she is invested in a connection at a level beyond the superficial. She doesn't just respond to you, she aligns herself with you. She anticipates you, she absorbs the nuances of your emotional state and adjusts her own to match. That is the power of emotional mirroring, and it is nothing short of remarkable. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think that emotional bonding is about controlling someone or making them dependent. It's not. The strength of a bond is measured not by manipulation or pressure, but by the freedom and safety the woman feels to mirror and invest in your energy. When she does it willingly, when it is authentic, it is a testament to trust, understanding, and connection that transcends words. It is proof that the relationship has reached a level where both people are deeply attuned to one another. Let's pause and reflect for a moment. In daily life, we rush past these subtle signals. We miss the quiet gestures, the way someone shifts to meet us emotionally, the patience and attentiveness that comes without being asked. And yet, these are the foundations of lasting connections. Emotional mirroring is not accidental, it is earned. It is cultivated through consistency, respect, empathy, and care. When a woman mirrors your energy, she is showing you that she has entered your emotional world and chosen to stay. This is why emotional bonding is both beautiful and fragile, because the act of mirroring is a choice, a constant, almost unconscious negotiation between her own emotional state and yours. She could ignore it, she could retreat, she could protect herself by putting distance between your energies. But she doesn't. She chooses to align, to resonate, to connect, and that choice is profound. That choice is rare, and that choice is what sets apart ordinary interactions from relationships that leave a lasting impact on life, on perception, and on personal growth. So when we think about emotional bonds, and when we consider what it really means for someone to invest themselves in another person, we must recognize the invisible work that is happening beneath the surface. The one thing a woman does when she is emotionally bonded, the mirroring of energy, is not something you can force, demand, or replicate artificially. It is instinctual, intelligent, and profoundly human. It is a reflection of her understanding, her patience, and her willingness to connect on a level that most people never notice. And if you pay attention, if you allow yourself to see it, you will realize something even more powerful. This mirroring is a gift. It is a gift of trust, of vulnerability, and of presence. She is showing you her mind, her heart, her instinctive care, all without saying a single word. And the moment that gift is appreciated, acknowledged, and reciprocated, the connection becomes unshakable. But if it is ignored, the bond quietly fades. And here's the lesson that every person watching this needs to understand. The most meaningful connections are often invisible. The things that truly define emotional closeness are not always loud, flashy, or dramatic. They are subtle, quiet, and profoundly transformative. And the act of mirroring, of absorbing and responding to someone's energy, is one of the most powerful ways a woman demonstrates emotional bonding, even if it goes unnoticed by the world. So I want you to think about this the next time you interact with someone who is deeply connected to you. Pay attention to the subtleties. Notice the shifts, the adjustments, the patience. See it for what it is, not just affection, not just care, but an invisible alignment of hearts and minds. This is emotional intelligence at its highest form. This is connection that can transform your life if you recognize and honor it. And here is the closing thought I want you to carry with you. The woman who mirrors your energy is not just reflecting who you are, she is amplifying the potential of the relationship, the depth of your connection, and the power of mutual growth. Treat it with awareness, with respect, and with gratitude. Because when you understand this invisible dance, when you recognize it and respond consciously, you unlock a dimension of connection most people will never experience. And that is the true power of emotional bonding. That is the one thing she does. Quiet, subtle, transformative. And if you honor it, it will change everything. When we think about emotional bonds, we often focus on what someone does outwardly. Words, gestures, attention. But the deeper truth, the truth that very few people ever talk about, is that emotional bonding is as much about sacrifice and investment as it is about affection. When a woman is emotionally connected, she doesn't just show up in convenient or easy ways. She shows up in ways that demand courage, patience, and a willingness to confront discomfort. And this is where the depth of emotional bonding truly reveals itself. When a woman is emotionally bonded, she is willing to adjust her life in subtle but profound ways. These are not grand sacrifices that everyone sees or applauds. They are quiet, often invisible, shifts in habits, moods, and priorities, all designed to support, harmonize, and stabilize the connection she has invested in. She may change routines, temper her reactions, or hold back frustrations not because she is weak, but because she is aware of the larger emotional ecosystem she is a part of. She recognizes that relationships are not about rigid individualism. They are about balance, about giving space while also giving support, about bending in order to remain strong. This willingness to sacrifice comfort for connection is one of the most misunderstood aspects of emotional bonding. Many people assume that if someone compromises, they are losing themselves. But the truth is far more complex. Sacrifice in this context is not submission. It is conscious adaptation. It is an acknowledgement that the bond is valuable enough to merit effort, that the emotional investment is worth the small, everyday adjustments. And these adjustments are not random, they are intelligent, intentional, and deeply rooted in empathy. She recognizes patterns in the man she is bonded to, his moods, his triggers, his anxieties, and she navigates them with precision, care, and foresight. Psychologically, this speaks to the nature of attachment and emotional intelligence. Humans are wired to connect, to resonate, to find harmony with others, but it requires awareness, self-regulation, and courage to intentionally adjust your behavior for someone else without losing your sense of self. And that is what she does. She navigates this delicate balance between honoring her own needs and attending to the needs of the person she is bonded to. She does this not because she is obligated, not because she is coerced, but because the bond has created a space where her investment feels natural, instinctive, and necessary. There is also a profound philosophical element to this. Emotional investment, when authentic, is an expression of human interdependence. We are social beings, and no one exists in isolation. The woman who invests in the relationship does so because she recognizes that the connection itself is a force larger than any individual ego. By sacrificing small comforts and adjusting her patterns, she is participating in a kind of emotional alchemy, transforming individual energies into a shared, harmonious flow. And this is powerful. It's subtle, often invisible, but transformative. It shapes not only the relationship, but the growth, resilience, and depth of both people involved. From a practical perspective, these sacrifices are everywhere, yet so often unnoticed. She may give up her time to support a partner's ambitions. She may compromise on plans or preferences to maintain peace and connection. She may listen without judgment when criticism or frustration is directed at her. She may suppress irritation or impatience in order to respond with thoughtfulness. These are not acts of weakness, they are acts of strength. They require emotional maturity, self-awareness, and the courage to act for the greater good of the bond. And because they are consistent, they create a foundation of reliability and trust that cannot be replicated by words alone. But let's not romanticize this too much. Sacrifice has its limits. Emotional investment is powerful, but it is not limitless. A woman who continually gives without recognition or reciprocity will eventually reach a threshold. And this is where the subtle dynamics of respect, gratitude, and acknowledgement become critical. The moment her investment is taken for granted, the bond begins to weaken. The sacrifices that once strengthened the connection now feel burdensome. And this is why emotional awareness is so crucial in any relationship. Understanding the depth of her investment means recognizing that her patience, her adjustments, and her quiet attentiveness are not default behaviors. They are conscious choices that require engagement and respect in return. This brings us to the transformative nature of emotional investment. When a woman chooses to invest, to adapt, to sacrifice for a connection, she is not just supporting the relationship, she is actively shaping it. She is influencing the emotional climate, the tone of interactions, and the trajectory of growth for both people. Her actions create ripple effects that extend far beyond the immediate moment. They cultivate resilience, trust, and a sense of safety that allows both individuals to expand emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And this is why genuine emotional bonding is rare. It demands not only empathy and awareness, but also courage, patience, and integrity. Let's pause here for a moment and consider the psychological significance of this. Emotional investment is a form of action. It is doing something tangible that communicates care, attention, and respect without needing words. Many people talk about love, but few understand that love without action is abstract. The woman who sacrifices comfort, who adjusts her behaviors, who invests time, energy, and patience is translating love into living, breathing reality. And when this action is met with reciprocity, the bond grows exponentially stronger. It becomes a relationship not just of affection, but of deep mutual understanding and trust. The philosophical dimension of this cannot be overstated. Life is fundamentally relational. Our most profound experiences, our greatest growth, and even our sense of purpose emerge through connection. The act of investing emotionally, of sacrificing for the sake of harmony and support, is an acknowledgement of this truth. It is a recognition that the most meaningful parts of life are never solitary. They are shared, co-created, and nurtured through intentional action. And when a woman demonstrates this level of investment, she is participating in a process that transcends ego, superficial desires, or convenience. She is engaging with something eternal, the raw, transformative power of connection. And here's the subtle, almost shocking truth. Her sacrifices are often invisible to the very people who benefit from them the most. A man may notice her calmness, her attentiveness, her patience, and assume it is natural or effortless. He may not realize that behind every quiet moment of support lies a series of conscious choices, adjustments, and compromises. She has invested in the relationship in ways that cannot be measured by words or gestures alone, and this is what makes the bond so powerful yet so fragile. Recognition is not just appreciation, it is acknowledgement of the emotional currency that keeps the connection alive. Consider this: every act of investment, every small sacrifice is a statement of trust. She is saying, without words, I believe in this connection, I believe in you. I am willing to adjust myself, to bend, to accommodate, because this bond is worth it. And when these statements are respected and reciprocated, they form a foundation that is unshakable. But if they are ignored or dismissed, the foundation begins to crack, often imperceptibly, until the bond itself is weakened. Emotional investment is both powerful and precarious, and understanding this is essential for anyone seeking a meaningful connection. From a motivational perspective, there is a lesson here for everyone. Pay attention to the silent, invisible work that someone invests in a relationship. Understand that emotional bonds are not built on words alone. They are constructed through sacrifice, adjustment, patience, and the willingness to show up consistently and intentionally, even when it is uncomfortable or inconvenient. Recognize that these actions are not minor. They are transformative. They are the very glue that holds deep connections together. And there is another layer to this that is rarely discussed: the growth it fosters in both people. When a woman invests emotionally, she creates space for the man, or the person she is bonded to grow, to reflect, and to become more aware of themselves. Her sacrifices, her adjustments, and her attentiveness do not just benefit the bond, they catalyze personal development. They challenge both individuals to rise to the occasion, to meet the depth of care with their own integrity, awareness, and commitment. This is why genuine emotional investment is rare and precious. It is both giving and elevating at the same time. So the next time you witness someone showing patience, subtle care, or quiet attentiveness, don't dismiss it. Recognize it as the outward manifestation of a deep, invisible investment. Understand that emotional bonding is not a convenience. It is a choice, an ongoing process, and a profound act of courage. The sacrifices, the adjustments, the willingness to bend without breaking are not signs of weakness. They are hallmarks of intelligence, strength, and integrity. And here is the closing thought I want you to carry with you. A woman who sacrifices comfort for connection, who invests emotionally in subtle yet profound ways, is demonstrating the truest form of care. It is not loud, it is not flashy, but it is life-changing. To witness it, acknowledge it, and respond consciously is to unlock the transformative power of human connection. Emotional investment is not just giving. It is creating, shaping, and elevating. And if you understand this and act with awareness, you will never look at relationships the same way again. Because when emotional investment is honored, it doesn't just sustain a relationship. It transforms it, elevates it, and creates a connection that is rare, profound, and unforgettable. When we talk about emotional bonding, one of the most fascinating aspects, and often the most overlooked, is the balance between patience, loyalty, and respect. This is not about simple politeness or superficial gestures. It is about the deep, almost sacred rhythm that develops when a woman is truly connected to someone. When she is emotionally bonded, her patience is not passive. It is deliberate. It is measured. It is an expression of her understanding that real connection is built over time, not in moments of convenience. And this patience is powerful because it is rooted in perception, observation, and empathy. Consider for a moment what patience really is in the context of a bond like this. Patience is not waiting idly for things to change. It is the conscious choice to remain present, to engage, and to invest emotionally even when circumstances are challenging. When a woman is emotionally connected, she sees beyond temporary frustrations, missteps, or irritations. She understands that people are complex, that behavior is often a reflection of unseen pressures, insecurities, and histories. And because she recognizes this, she extends patience in a way that is profound and transformative. It is not blind tolerance. It is a form of emotional intelligence that allows her to maintain stability, empathy, and insight even when things are imperfect. Patience in this context is also an active force. It is not passive endurance. It is strategic, adaptive, and deeply conscious. She senses the ebb and flow of emotional energy, she notices the subtle shifts in mood, and she modulates her own reactions to complement the situation. This is why emotional bonds are often invisible to the outside world. From the outside, she may appear calm, serene, or effortless, but beneath that exterior lies a constant, subtle negotiation between her patience and her expectations. She is continuously calibrating her responses to maintain harmony, balance, and connection. And then there is loyalty. Loyalty is often misunderstood as passive adherence or unthinking fidelity. In reality, loyalty in an emotionally bonded woman is one of the most conscious, deliberate, and active forms of investment a person can demonstrate. It is the commitment to remain connected, to remain present, and to remain engaged, even when the path is not easy, convenient, or immediately rewarding. Loyalty is not conditional. It is a choice, and this choice is continually reaffirmed through action, attention, and emotional engagement. When a woman is loyal in this context, she is signaling that the bond itself is sacred, valuable, and worth protecting. Her loyalty is not about ownership or control. It is about reverence for the connection and the emotional space she shares with the person she is bonded to. Respect is the third pillar, and it is inseparable from patience and loyalty. Emotional bonding is not a one-way street, and she knows this instinctively. Her patience, her loyalty, and her adjustments are not an invitation for disregard. They are an expression of her investment. Respect is required, and it is a reflection of the reciprocal understanding that both parties bring to the relationship. When respect is present, the bond flourishes. When it is absent, the bond begins to erode. This is one of the most crucial lessons about emotional connection. The depth of care she demonstrates is mirrored by the depth of respect she expects in return. It is not transactional, but it is principled. It is a natural consequence of investing fully in someone else's world while maintaining integrity and self-awareness. From a psychological perspective, these three elements, patience, loyalty, and respect, form a complex feedback loop. Patience allows for observation and understanding. Loyalty provides stability and continuity. Respect ensures that the bond is reciprocal and healthy. Together, they create a dynamic system that allows emotional bonds to grow and evolve over time. And this is why a woman who embodies these qualities is not just emotionally connected, she is transformational. She does not merely participate in the relationship, she shapes it, stabilizes it, and elevates it in ways that are often imperceptible to the casual observer. But there is a subtle danger here, and this is something very few people recognize. Patience, loyalty, and respect are not limitless. They are contingent upon recognition, reciprocity, and authenticity. A woman may exercise immense patience, but if her efforts are ignored or dismissed, that patience can wane. Loyalty, no matter how strong, is fragile if the connection is devalued or disrespected. Respect, once violated repeatedly, erodes trust and undermines the bond entirely. Emotional investment is not an inexhaustible resource. It is cultivated carefully, maintained consciously, and withdrawn when necessary to preserve integrity. And this is what makes it both rare and precious. When we reach the final layer of understanding what it means for a woman to be emotionally bonded, we confront the most subtle yet powerful element of all, the invisible, transformative impact she has on the relationship. Up until now, We have talked about mirroring energy, investing emotionally, exercising patience, and demonstrating loyalty and respect. But the truth is, the deepest dimension of emotional bonding is not about what she does consciously. It is about the quiet, almost imperceptible way she shapes the connection, the emotional climate, and the trajectory of both people involved. And this impact is so profound that most people fail to recognize it until it has already changed their lives. The first thing to understand is that emotional bonding is never passive. When a woman is truly connected, every action, every word, every subtle shift in her presence carries weight. She becomes, in a sense, the silent force of the relationship. She does not have to raise her voice, demand attention, or perform grand gestures. The impact of her emotional investment is woven into the very fabric of daily interactions. It is in the way she responds, the timing of her words, the tone of her voice, the steadiness of her gaze. These are not random. They are reflections of the depth of her connection, reflections that influence not just the mood of the moment, but the emotional trajectory of the bond itself. This influence is often invisible because it does not seek recognition. She does not perform or seek validation for the subtle ways she shapes the emotional environment. She is quietly attuned to the needs, fears, and desires of the person she is bonded to, and she adapts in real time, often without conscious thought. This is why emotional bonds are so difficult to quantify or explain to outsiders. From the outside, everything might look normal, ordinary even, yet the relationship is being profoundly guided and stabilized by her presence. She is the invisible hand that holds the emotional space together, and her effect is cumulative, building over time, quietly transforming the bond in ways that are rarely acknowledged. From a psychological standpoint, this is extraordinary. The act of shaping a relationship without overt control or manipulation requires a rare combination of empathy, awareness, and emotional intelligence. It requires the ability to perceive subtle cues, micro-expressions, changes in tone, shifts in body language, and respond in ways that maintain equilibrium. She becomes a living, breathing emotional regulator, not through authority, but through alignment, connection, and presence. And because of this, she wields influence that is profound yet invisible. Philosophically, this points to a truth about human connection that is both startling and inspiring. The most meaningful bonds are not built on overt actions or declarations. They are built on subtle, consistent alignment and attunement. When a woman invests herself in this way, she is not simply participating in the relationship, she is co-creating the emotional reality of it. Every subtle adjustment, every gesture of care, every act of attentiveness contributes to a larger, unseen architecture of trust, intimacy, and resonance. And this is why emotional bonding is both rare and precious. It cannot be manufactured, faked, or forced. It arises only through genuine investment, awareness, and intentional engagement. Now, let's talk about the transformative aspect. Her influence changes not only the dynamics of the relationship, but also the person she is bonded to. She holds up a mirror, not a judgmental mirror, but a reflective one that allows him to see himself more clearly. Her patience, her loyalty, her subtle guidance, and her attentiveness create a space where personal growth becomes possible. In this space, mistakes are acknowledged without harshness, successes are celebrated without ego, and challenges are met with resilience rather than frustration. She does not create dependency. She cultivates awareness, emotional intelligence, and self-reflection. And here is what shocks most people: the power of this influence is often underestimated. Many men, and even some women, fail to recognize the sheer magnitude of emotional impact that comes from someone who is bonded in this way. They see actions, gestures, or words, but they miss the invisible currents beneath the surface. The quiet shaping of moods, the calibration of energy, the steadying of emotional fluctuations. Yet, when this influence is acknowledged, respected, and reciprocated, it can elevate the relationship to heights that are truly transformative. It is not about control, it is about co-creation. It is not about dominance, it is about alignment, resonance, and mutual growth. This brings us to an important lesson: emotional bonding is inherently reciprocal. The transformative impact she has is most powerful when it is recognized, valued, and mirrored back. If her presence is ignored, undervalued, or taken for granted, the energy that sustains the bond begins to dissipate. The very qualities that make the connection rare and extraordinary, her attentiveness, her care, her emotional alignment, can be withdrawn if not met with acknowledgement and respect. And this is where the subtle, almost shocking truth lies. Emotional bonding is not static, it is dynamic. It grows, evolves, and transforms only when both people participate consciously and intentionally. From a motivational perspective, understanding this invisible influence can change the way you approach relationships entirely. It shifts the focus from superficial measures of connection, words, appearances, material gestures, to the unseen, profound architecture of emotional resonance. When you recognize that someone's presence, patience, loyalty, and attentiveness are not just background noise, but active forces shaping the reality of the relationship, it demands a level of awareness and action that few are willing to embrace. It demands attentiveness, gratitude, reciprocity, and intentionality. The beauty of this, and the part that will shock most people, is that this invisible influence is not manipulative or strategic. It is authentic. It is a reflection of the depth of care and investment, not a tool for control. It is a natural consequence of emotional bonding. And when this influence is honored, it catalyzes growth, connection, and emotional richness that transcends the ordinary. She does not have to speak to transform the space. Her energy, her alignment, and her presence are enough to shape the relationship profoundly. Psychologically, this also underscores the importance of perception and awareness. Humans are remarkably influenced by the energies around them, often without realizing it. When someone is attuned, present, and emotionally invested, it creates an environment where growth, reflection, and understanding are not only possible, they are inevitable. Emotional bonding, when genuine, functions as a catalyst, shaping not only behavior but perception, decision-making, and personal development. This is why her presence, her subtle attentiveness, and her quiet influence are transformative. They create conditions for the best version of both individuals to emerge. Philosophically, there is another layer to consider. Emotional bonding and the influence it creates challenges the notion that relationships are transactional or superficial. It reveals that human connection is fundamentally about resonance, attunement, and mutual shaping. When a woman is bonded, she does not merely receive affection or attention, she actively participates in creating the emotional architecture of the relationship. She shapes moods, guides interactions, and fosters a space where trust, understanding, and growth can thrive. And this is why her impact is both invisible and transformative. It is not about what you can measure, but what you can feel, experience, and become through the connection. Now, let us consider the implications for anyone watching this. Recognizing the invisible influence of emotional bonding is a call to action. It is a challenge to see beyond the surface, to understand the depth of care that someone invests, and to respond with intentionality. When you honor this influence, you are not only respecting the person who is bonded to you, you are amplifying the potential of the relationship itself. You are creating conditions where emotional richness, growth, and resilience are not only possible, but inevitable. And here is the final, powerful truth. The woman who is emotionally bonded is not only reflecting care and attentiveness, she is actively transforming the relationship at every moment. She is the unseen heartbeat, the stabilizing force, and the silent architect of connection. Her influence is cumulative, profound, and life-changing. Recognizing it is not optional. It is essential for anyone who wishes to experience a relationship that is deep, meaningful, and transformative. So here is what I want you to take away and carry with you. Never underestimate the quiet power of emotional investment. Look beyond words, gestures, and appearances. Pay attention to the alignment, the attentiveness, and the subtle shaping of energy that occurs when someone is truly bonded. This is the force that holds relationships together, the catalyst for growth, and the foundation for trust and intimacy that endures over time. And here is the closing statement. I want to leave you with: the impact of emotional bonding is invisible, yet unstoppable. When it is recognized, honored, and reciprocated, it transforms lives, elevates connections, and creates relationships that are rare, profound, and unforgettable. The woman who is bonded does not just love or care, she shapes, guides, and elevates. And when you understand this and act consciously, you unlock the true power of human connection.